What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is your boy Frankie Bones, and in today's video we'll hop back into the Yankee Universe. On a positive note this time, the Yankees take care of business in the Bronx against one of the worst teams in baseball, end up sweeping the Royals and sort of get back on track in order to make this push for the playoffs over the next few weeks. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe as well to not miss out on any Yankees content in the future. In this video, we're going to break down all the games, talk key takeaways, what's up, Doc, talk about who is on the mend, as well as talk about who is on deck. So we'll start, as you always should, with game number 1 on Friday. The Yankees end up taking this game by a score of 5-4. Clark Schmidt, again, continues to be just that consistent guy for this rotation. Pulled a little bit early in terms of pitch count, but pitches well. Goes 5.2, 3 earned runs, coming off of a homer, 5 hits, 2 Ks, only 64 pitches. But at the end of the day, it felt like it was a leverage spot for this team, and really important as well, against the Royals to take this first game. And really the only other note that I have for this game is this was McKinney Day. Billy the Kid, he has a 3-run home run, makes a few great plays defensively, playing center field for the squad, and good to see him continuing to make an impact. He's been a little bit up and down since that stretch at the beginning where he seemingly was on fire, so great to see him make an impact, and the Yankees take this first game. Moving on to game number 2, the Yankees also take this one by a score of 5-2. It's Cole Day in the Bronx, and the Yankees ride that train. He has an excellent outing, goes 6.1, 2 runs on 5 hits, 10 Ks for Garrett. Giancarlo, again, goes deep. He's been on a little bit of a roll, getting back on track after a little bit of a funk for a few games, but he has a home run, 3 RBIs. DJ LeMahieu shows up to the party. He hits a home run to take the lead in the back half of the game. And Brady Singer pitched well for the Royals rather. He seemingly pitches well in Yankee Stadium, but the Yankees are able to capitalize towards the end of the game, making it happen with a DJ homer and the Giancarlo 2-run shot to extend the lead and sort of close out this game. And finally, we'll talk about Game 3. The Yankees take this one as well yesterday afternoon by a score of 8-5. Luis Severino, again, he's building on his previous start. He pitches well again in this one. Goes 5 2/3, 8 hits, 3 runs, 5 Ks. And his stuff looked pretty good. His velo ticked way up again, which is really good for him to be able to reach back and really drain the tank on some really important pitches. And definitely some great signs for him coming out of the All-Star break, rebuilding that confidence, and going to be an important piece for this Yankees team, especially if the offense continues to be inconsistent. If our starters really give our team an opportunity to stay in games and ultimately be able to put up some runs late, it's really a not bad recipe for this team to be able to win some games down the stretch. But today was Rizzo Day. He really comes out of his shadow today. He's been in a horrible stretch for him, probably the worst in his career, but in this game he goes 4 for 4. He hits his first home run in 2 months. He has 2 RBIs in this one as well, and it's good to see him back. He's the meat of this lineup and a really important bat for this team, especially with Judge down. To be able to be producing, and great to see him picking up these hits. Who knows if it's Sean Casey, if it's mentality, if it's just a matter of time. Obviously, there was the batting glove thing, which, just sort of adds to the lore. But great to see him have a great day, hopefully continuing to see him build on the success over the next few weeks and have a strong second half of the season. And the last note on this game is this really should have been a blowout, but at the end of the game, Ron Marinaccio really been having a difficult season so far after his early shine last year. Coming up, throws 1 inning, 2 runs, 2 hits. So pretty interesting to see what's going to end up happening with Ron. His past number of outings have not been spectacular at all. And we'll talk about some guys coming off the IL hopefully soon. And I'm curious to see what his role will continue to be in the bullpen. Moving on to our key takeaways. Well, lastly, we'll talk about the record overall, 53-47. They're 8.5 games back of Baltimore, who's been on fire. We'll talk a little bit about them later on in the video. And 2 games back in the wild card, so picking up a game and a half there is big. Obviously, the division is, I wouldn't say a long shot, but certainly not the priority right now. It's getting that playoff spot, and the division would be nice, but would have to be a crazy run with how good this division has been. But moving on to the key takeaways, the first guy we have to talk about is Rizzo. He finally breaks through in game number 3. We talked about what he was able to accomplish in the game, 4 for 4, a home run, solo shot to right, a double, 2 RBIs, 3 runs, and it's big for the vibes because Rizzo is at the heart of this team, and to see him continuing to produce, or start to produce now, and hopefully we see it continue, is really important for this team in lighting that fire and sort of fueling the engine for this team to make the push. Moving on to our second key takeaway, we'll talk about Sevy. Again, he pitched in game number 3 as well. He builds on his past start. We talked about the numbers, 5 2/3, 8 hits, 3 runs, 5 Ks, 0 walks, which I think was also big. Command was much better in this game overall and sort of limiting the damage for him. He did give up 2 home runs, a 2-run shot, and a solo shot. So that's something that has been plaguing him a lot this year as well. So looking to see him continuing to work on these numbers. Obviously, these are mistake pitches, and they're not always going to be home runs, but recently they have been, and this would be a great way for him to mitigate the damage and let him go deep into ball games. Moving on to our third key takeaway, we'll talk about Billy the Kid. Billy McKinney has a great series, only ends up playing 2 in this one, but his splits overall were really good. In those 2 games, he went 2 for 4. He had that big 3-run homer, 3 runs for him as well as 3 walks. Defensively, he's been really solid. Regardless of wherever he's playing, he played center a couple times with Bader with that rib thing going on. Bader is obviously now back, so definitely dodged a bullet there with a guy who seemingly keeps getting hurt. For him to be able to come back quick, I think, is really important for this team. His defense is really valuable, but we're obviously talking about Billy here. Great defense, and to see his offense come through and shine once again is really big for another guy to be able to contribute within this lineup. And finally, our last key takeaway is that the Yankees took care of business. This is a series that they needed to sweep, and they should have swept. And it was important for them to do that. Yes, the games were a little bit closer than I think we would have liked, but at the end of the day, it's 3 wins in the column, and this sort of kicks off a very important 2-week stretch for the Yankees as we approach the trade deadline. What are our moves going to look like? We'll talk about the next few series as well, but a great start to this 2-week stretch. Really important because it's going to be a lot of divisional matchups for the Yankees. Again, that we'll talk about here coming up, but also with the trade deadline looming, important to get these wins on the board, sort of figure out where exactly as a team we're trying to go and what makes the most sense for this season overall. Now we'll transition on over to What's Up, Doc. Talk about a couple of guys on the mend here. Firstly, we'll talk about Aaron Judge. He faces Jonathan Loaizaga in a live BP yesterday. They had some coverage of this that they showed on the pregame. Yes, it was pretty interesting how they did it. I'm not sure if that was Judge trying to say something or the team. But live pitching is good. These are all, over the past 2 weeks, he's been making big strides to put himself in a position to return soon to a team that desperately needs their captain. And interested to see how he reacts. He looked pretty good. Pivoting on that back foot, not particularly worried about the results or anything like that from those pitches, but good to see him in the box and excited to hear updates on him, hopefully in the near future with some substance in terms of when he may return and ultimately what that path may look like. Moving on to Nasty, talking about Nestor Cortez. He had a AA rehab start on Sunday in Somerset. Fortunately, couldn't get there, but he looked pretty good. I watched some of the highlights. He goes 2 1/3, 4 hits, 1 run, 4 Ks, and 0 walks. Couldn't find a pitch count, but I believe they had mentioned he was trying to get up to 40, 45, so hopefully he got around that number. If not, was able to finish in the bullpen, but his stuff looked really good. I assume that he still has a couple more rehab starts to go. I'm recording this here on Monday, where the Yankees have an off day. We'll talk a little bit about that as well, but still looking about 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, in accordance with his 60-day time. Moving on to Jonathan Loaisiga, who we talked about briefly. He faced Aaron Judge in the live BP, ends up throwing 16 pitches. Feel like we haven't heard a lot about Johnny Loaisiga recently. Johnny Lasagna, another one of the Italian boys. Not really, but, you know. Interested to see when he is going to be able to come back, how he responds to this bullpen session. He is on the 60-day as well. So his date, I believe, is August 3rd. So 2 weeks out. Interested to see how he continues to develop and respond to ramping things back up. It could be a really big piece for the Yankees, as he has been over the past few years. And finally, with some unfortunate news, got to talk Jose. Wanted to leave this to the end because the other three were really positive, but Jose Trevino is going to be out for the season. He was dealing with a tear of one of the ligaments in his wrist, and unfortunately just continuing to nag him and affect his performance at the plate. And probably the most shocking thing is this has been going on since spring. So it's nothing new. I guess it's been sort of pain management for him up until this point, but sort of realizing that he's not contributing as much as he would like, and I think that the team needs, deciding to shut it down. So interesting to see how the pitching staff will respond. I know a lot of people like to pitch to Jose up and down the rotation, so we'll see how they adjust. Ben Rorvet is up, who has been playing really well in AAA, so good to see him get a shot. Him and Higgy will be manning the dish for the Yankees, and we'll see how Ben is maybe able to contribute, or Higgy is able to step up as a leader in this rotation and on this team as well. Finally, we'll talk about who's on deck, who's coming up for the Yankees over the next few series. Like I mentioned, recording this here on Monday, the Yankees have an off day today as they travel, or as they stay home rather. And then they will take on the Mets for 2. They'll host them in the Bronx. Internally, a pretty high-pressure Subway Series for the Yankees. I think they really want to have 2 here, and it's interesting to see how we're going to come out and play. But the Mets in a little bit of a spiral over the past month or so, and a great opportunity for the Yankees to cash in. And if they're able to take, these 2 off the Mets, that's a 5-game win streak, and hopefully will propel these boys in the right direction. But after the Mets, we'll have another off day as we travel down for 3 games in the division versus the first place Baltimore Orioles. Feels weird to say, but they have a really good team, and it's going to be a difficult 3-game series. I think the Yankees really have to try and win it, and they definitely cannot get swept. I think 2 would really be an ideal outcome, but we'll have to see who shows up and how the Yankees play. Obviously, we typically play well in Baltimore, but new team, new year for the Orioles. And finally, after that, we will return home for a 3-game stand against the Tampa Bay Rays, again, who are still a really great team. They had a really hot first half, starting to cool off a little bit, similar to the Yankees last year. So, again, another really important one. 2 divisional series coming up that are going to be really important for the Yankees to win, to both make up ground in the division and continue to win and put themselves in a great spot for the wild card if need be. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys took away from this series against the Royals. Yes, it's the Royals, but still really important results for this team to be able to get the sweep and take care of business and potentially start rolling for a couple of guys that showed up in this series. But for now, that's going to do it for me, guys. This has been your boy Frankie Bones, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Peace out.